Hello, guys. Come sit down, take a seat with me, grab a cup of tea, and we are gonna get into my relationship series, video 5, and this is going to be on love bombing. So I am going to take you into the perspective of both the love bomber and the reciprocator of the love bombing dynamic, because obviously if somebody love bombs you and you don't reciprocate, then you've kind of closed that deal down, right? First, the person who has been love bombed. You have a beautiful gazelle running through the forest in the magical dating world. Let's say a beautiful single woman. She's merrily hopping along. Well, she accidentally gets That's because love bombing is a trap. Love bombing happens based off of deep insecurities in both people. But the person who has done the love bombing is somebody who is not interested in compatible relationships. This is somebody who is not interested in developing a strong, healthy relationship or a strong, healthy foundation. This is somebody who is interested in being unconditionally loved, having somebody stay by their side no matter what and no matter how wrong they are for them. Somebody who is usually anxious attachment to some degree. This is somebody who has seen unhealthy relationship dynamics probably with their parents their entire life. Love bombing is not a healthy way to start a relationship. So what is love bombing? Love bombing can be any form of extreme affection, like how beautiful you are and how you're the most amazing person, woman, most beautiful. But usually it is more in the direction of somebody saying, I love you too soon in a relationship before that I love you has been earned and before a foundation and a timeline has been kind of set forth where it makes sense that they're saying those words. This can also be somebody wanting to hook you into a relationship too soon. And this can also be once you're in a relationship, different kinds of commitments or things like, I want to be with you forever, I'm never going to leave you. Things like this can all be under the category of love bombing. Now, love bombing is usually an intense euphoria that person is feeling and an overlay that they're caught up in where they're not actually in reality with you. They don't actually know enough about you as a human being and all of the depth and dimensions that you have to say those words to you. The only way that they could possibly feel genuine love for you is on a human level, which you can feel for any human being and all human beings on this planet. But the romantic kind of love that they're insinuating they have for you is something that has to be learned. And I love you, when it's in relationships, is a deep commitment and form of attachment that you're making to that person. And it's kind of like, I'm going to be by your side. I want to be by your side. And it's also like, I truly see you. I truly have your best interest at heart. And I truly want your closeness and your belonging. Whereas just the words I love you without any form of relationship attachment involved, it's just this feeling of love for another person. But when you say I love you in a relationship or a dating context, it has so much more expectation and meeting and attachments and contracts inherent within it. And this is why it can be dangerous territory. Once love bombing is initiated, both people are going to start losing track of their individual selves, and the relationship is going to turn more into a state of confluence where you're losing your sense of self, you're losing your individuality, your sense of boundaries, your sense of what you want for your life, your sense of what you like and don't like, and you're replacing it with what the other person wants. It's an extreme form of codependency. Love bombing is a insecure, toxic dynamic to start relationships with, and it gives no true ability for proper foundations to be built, because love bombing creates attachments between two people that makes it so that when things come up in the first couple of weeks, the first month, first couple of months, or even the first 6 months that would have otherwise been a no, I don't want this relationship with you, or no, I don't want to continue dating you because you guys have already gone so far so quickly. It is much harder to see incompatibilities as they rise up, to own them, to communicate them, to do something about them, but also to walk away if you need to. It is much harder to see if the relationship is for you. And if you're jumping into a relationship too quickly and you don't have time to set up proper expectation, proper communication, and you're immediately jumping into a comfortable, habitual routine with someone, then you're gonna get lost in that routine and the relationship is going to be perpetually unhealthy, and it is going to be extremely hard to take the reins back, no matter how much of a person you are that is committed to healthy relationships and creating a healthy foundation. It's extremely hard because as humans, we have made ourselves vulnerable and attached. We have made it so that there's an inauthenticity between two people because we're attached on a basis of unconditional love, which isn't about one individual or the other individual. It's about neither individual having to be alone, both individuals feeling loved, validated, having closeness, belonging, having their needs met no matter what. But it's not about the individual. It's not about being in reality with the individual. It's not about seeing the individual. There needs to be proper communication, expectations, discussions, and really playing around with creating the relationship. If a relationship were a quilt, every stitch would be an action, a thought, an idea, energy put forward to make the relationship better. And the more stitches you put into the quilt, the more beautiful the quilt becomes. Whereas love bombing creates a relationship that kind of just looks like a ball of yarn that no work has been put into. And it's very hard to get that ball of yarn to start moving the way that it needs to move. I will say that the more time that you spend with someone and the more you share your human hurt, the more you share your love with someone, the more you make memories together, the more you create ideas in your head with them, the more you learn about them, the more experiences you have shared and commonalities you have found, the more time plays out between you two, especially on a basis of commitment and attachment, you begin to have your hurt and their hurt knotted together. And each attachment, each moment of attachment, each moment of vulnerability, each moment of opening up becomes a cord from their heart to your heart. And your hearts become more and more and more attached to each other. It becomes harder and harder to leave, harder and harder to see clearly, and harder to see their faults and see what you don't like about them and see even the things that they have done to you that are not okay. I consider love bombing to be a red flag because I'm someone who's committed to healthy relationships. Love bombing is not wrong in and of itself, but is definitely not the setup for a healthy relationship unless you're someone who is committed to having a relationship for the sake of having a relationship and for the sake of not being alone, to guarantee that somebody will not leave you. If you're someone that has struggled with love bombing, is guilty of love bombing, don't feel bad. I myself am guilty of it, and I know so I'm more guilty of the reciprocal end of the spectrum. But I know a lot of people that are guilty of this, and this doesn't make you any less of a person or a kind-hearted, awesome human being. And I will tell you that our relationships are a learning curve and a learning process, and every stage in your relationship journey and the different relationships you have is a vibrational up, and we can keep on getting a higher and a higher vibration and a healthier and healthier relationship standard for ourselves if we choose to commit to that and we choose to break away from old habits and bad patterns. I also highly recommend that you look into your childhood wounding around these insecurities and around these ideas that you're not going to find someone and that you will be alone and that you're terrified of abandonment. You can do this by checking out the completion process or booking a session with me on completion process, parts work, hypnotherapy. So thank you so much for watching this video, and don't get caught in a snare anytime soon.
Burning with desire as he runs the race. Half light, the The moon is always knowing